haven't owned a terrarium in a long time, but they're gaining in popularity. With me today is Ray and Kathy Roberts of Central Florida Ferns and Foliage. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us to the nursery.
Thank you for coming.
Tell me, these little terrarium plants, terrariums are gaining in popularity?
They really are, and all generations love a terrarium, from kids to adults, and they're just a neat project to have, a family project. They're a neat gift. They're just really gaining in popularity.
And you're growing these little plants specifically for terrariums and dish gardens.
That's correct. Yes, we have several different selections of foliage and several different selections of ferns that we can mix together in the terrariums, and they're in little 2-inch pots. Are perfect for terrarium.
So what's the beauty of a terrarium?
The beauty of a terrarium is it takes care of itself. Once you plant it together and it is something that you're proud of because you created it, it's its own little ecosystem. So you don't have to water it, and it is slow growing, and you just get the satisfaction of watching it and knowing that you were part of establishing it. It's like its own little atmosphere, and it's just, you can make it in certain themes or certain ages groups. It's just a neat thing to, a neat new project.
Will any container do?
Yeah, we prefer glass because of the condensation that builds up the terrarium. The glass is just a neat container to have it in, but if you have small children, you can also use a clear plastic. You know, children may be prone to dropping it, or it's easier for them to work with.
And these are available all sorts of places,
All
any
sorts of places.
stores.
Yes.
You can find neat and interesting containers.
That's part of the fun, is the hunt for the container. Yes.
Does it have to have a closed lid?
Well, there are two types of terrariums. You can have the closed lid, which is the easiest to grow because it's pretty much self-sufficient, or you can have an open top terrarium, which you may have to water a little bit more often than you would a closed terrarium.
Are terrariums hard to build?
They're very easy and a lot of fun.
Do you think we could make one now?
Oh, yes.
So you picked this container. It is glass.
It is a glass container, and it's got a wide mouth, so it's fairly easy to get your plants into.
And get your hands into.
And get your hands into, and it's just going to be a little layering project that we're doing.
So the first step is you've put rocks in the bottom. And
Correct.
what are the rocks for?
The rocks are to create a drainage area for anytime the terrarium is closed up, you're going to get precipitation. It'll fall down into the rocks. That way it doesn't keep the soil really moist.
And the next step
Next step is activated charcoal, which that helps purify the water as it moves around in the container.
And is there a certain amount to put in?
Just a little thin layer on top of the rocks.
And that activated charcoal is available really
Any
anywhere.
aquarium shop would have it.
And
then
now
the
you're adding...
next step is a sheet moss. And what this does is goes over the rocks, and that soil goes on top of that, and that makes a level so the soil doesn't seep down into your gravel.
Erosion.
And this is available at craft stores?
Craft stores, yes.
Craft stores,
And then the
and
next,
some garden centers.
Next step is your potting soil, right on top
Any
of the sheet
special
moss.
kind of soil?
Well, just make sure the soil is moist and has some maybe like peat moss in it. You want a little rough soil, which helps in the drainage so that your plants won't be too soggy.
Nice.
Just
And
a
a nice layer of soil?
Yeah, you want about a quarter of an inch, the whole layer, about a quarter of the depth of your jar.
Yeah.
And we're going to put some of these adorable plants
Yeah,
in.
This is the fun part. But what you want to do is plan on what you want to put in the terrarium ahead of time. You don't want to be moving them around once you,
the moss is in.
right,
and the
because it
rocks.
kind of disturbs the layering. So take your plants and arrange them the way you like. Use some tall ones, some short ones, some colorful ones. Just make it eye appealing, and maybe some of your favorite stuff.
I
And
love
then
the pink
arrange
one.
them in the terrarium. This is the fun part.
And
And
all of
something
the
with a
plants.
Something with a little color is always important too, so it gives you different effects of color and
so you
texture.
just put 3 plants in here.
Yes, in that one.
It's
And
best
then
to use odd numbers, 3 or 5, depending on your container, but don't overplant it. People tend to overplant.
So we're almost out of time. So
and
let's
the icing
put a
on
little
the
moss
cake
in.
is the decorative moss, which goes on top of your soil. Anywhere the soil is exposed, you want to put a little bit of decorative moss
moss
to cover
in
it up,
there.
and that also helps hold some moisture in there.
And then
And then once you moss it, we'll go ahead and jump to the next stage. You can do your decorative items, like maybe a couple of
little
well-placed rocks.
And I see you might have a little
and
gnome.
a little gnome, little garden gnome. He looks like he's sitting in the garden there.
And then really, once we put the lid on that, we have a self-contained environment. A little bit of water.
You can a little bit of water just to wash it down, and then you put the lid on top, and your terrarium's done.
Yes, so we are out of time, but this is beautiful, and I bet you want to give this to me, don't you? So I'm going to take this terrarium home. I think it's going to be perfect in my office.